about the choices in terms of policies, about a vision going forward,
is really a consensus.
that I hope actually,
regardless of
is really a consensus. So
regardless
just to be
of
clear, and especially
who
for our
emerges.
friends from the
So
just to be clear, and especially for our
policies
friends from the media,
and ways forward.
Nigeria's choice, we're talking about policies and ways forward. And the second one, as Nancy pointed out, is the country economic memorandum. This we produce not every 6 months, but every few years. And it's just a longer term perspective. And then goes into more detail. What are the lessons from, a country's own history, but also from the global experience. And so that is called Charting a New Course. Next slide, please. Both of these, the choice and this idea of charting a new course, are motivated by this picture that we've been showing for a while. In fact, at least since I got here, because this was one of the first things, when I was coming here, I'd spent 5 years in Indonesia, which is a remarkably similar country in so many ways. It's about 270 million people. It's resource rich. It actually went through 30 years of military rule and then emerged in the late 1990s as what I call a noisy democracy, just like India is a noisy democracy. So this picture, so I knew Indonesia's story. What fascinated me, what intrigued me, what puzzled me was Nigeria's story. So let me just take you very quickly. The light blue line shows you what Indonesia's per capita GDP trajectory has been since 1970. The dark blue is the similar picture for Nigeria since 1970. What should strike you, what struck me, was the fact that Indonesia started off below Nigeria and then pretty much has been on an upward trajectory, a pretty steep upward trajectory since then. There were 2 points of kind of temporary reversals. One was in 1998. That was the transition from military rule to democracy. That was Asian financial crisis, we called it. And then the other one you'll see is 2020, where Indonesia, like many countries, was hit very hard by the COVID crisis. And then you see what we're projecting for Indonesia's growth going forward. Nigeria, on the other hand, has been what we call, or what seems to be the case, floating along. Okay? And in some ways, it's been floating along, buffeted by the swells of global oil price movements. So when oil prices go up, Nigeria tends to do a bit better, at least in per capita GDP terms. But then when oil prices go down, things turn to go south again. Now, so that's the idea of, instead of floating along, Nigeria has the potential to chart a new course, to basically be on an upward trajectory. And that's essentially the choice that we're talking about. So just to crystallize that choice in maybe somewhat simplistic terms, I think you will hear that we think that Nigeria is at a particularly critical juncture right now, is because there is a third scenario, which we are calling here, with obvious reference, things fall apart. And the risk of that scenario is growing. And that's the reason why we are bringing this to your attention, that this is really a choice about making sure that that rising to potential scenario is realized, not just over the next decade, but going forward.
The launch today of the Nigeria Development Update and Country Economic Memorandum by the World Bank provides another opportunity for us to review and dialogue around major achievements and critical challenges of the Nigerian economy. I commend the World Bank for its contributions towards the growth and development of Nigeria, not just in financing development projects across sectors, but more importantly, through policy dialogues like this one. And of course, policy advisory, support that it provides. I would also like to appreciate other development partners, the private sector, civil society, the academia, and government officials here present. I look forward to a very rich and robust discussion and a good outcome at this event. Let me underline the analysis, the quality of the analysis in the NDU. I'm quoting this. It says, Nigeria's growth prospects have improved. However, pre-crisis challenges threaten the post-crisis recovery, highlighting the need to depart from business as usual policies. Fiscal pressures have mounted due to lower than expected revenues and the rising cost of subsidy on premium motor spirit. The report notes further that under a business as usual scenario, GDP per capita will continue to decline. However, drastic reforms can change this. Therefore, taking a closer look at the PMS subsidy and the youth labor market, spotlight was turned on Nigeria's digital economy potential and on the need for greater financial deepening. Nigeria's economic growth improved in the third quarter of 2022 with a GDP of 2.9%. Some of this growth emanated from a robust recovery in the non-oil economy and other sectors with significant improvements like telecommunications, agriculture, and services. We will all agree that no country was immune to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the devastating impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on the global economy. The Nigerian economy has, however, demonstrated considerable resilience in addressing the challenges, adopting measures to grow our revenue base, especially increasing the share of non-oil revenues by